Welcome back into College Football Every Game on the Board podcast with our closer, Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome to the pod. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, Drew. How about yourself?
I'm doing good, Teddy. This is my last podcast until for a while anyway. So I'm doing good until next week, of course.
Yeah, I'm like, what? Wait a minute. What? You scared me there for a minute. I'm like, this is my last podcast. Unless some announcement that you're waiting for us to go before you're saying something? Jeez.
No, nothing like that, Teddy. But I guess the NFL opening line report will be next week. Undecided on Monday or Tuesday or whatnot, but we will decide on that and let you know on Twitter at Sports Memo or at Teddy_covers or at Drew Martin Betts.
Right. You're going out of town for a couple of days, right? Yeah. And hey, life happens sometimes. It's okay. We'll get the opening line report, and hopefully we'll be able to post it up next Monday. I'd love to be able to do that. So I'll work around your schedule on that, Drew.
Hey, Teddy. Thank you, man. That's what friends are for. But let's give the people what they clicked on the link for. That's the rundown of the college football games here, guys. So hopefully get you on some right sides here. Starting in the AAC, we got 383, 384, the rotation number. We're going to the end of the card here on the college football Saturday afternoon card. We got Memphis at Houston. Looks like the Memphis Tigers laying 10.5 on the highway, 69 being the total here, Teddy.
Yeah, both teams extra time to prepare for this one. But only one of these two teams is any good. And unfortunately, they're being priced like only one of these two teams any good. Houston's a 3-win team playing in November. And those, when they get their spots, they may show. They covered their last two against SMU and Central Florida. But again, they lost both of those games. I'm not in love with this kid, Toon. He's mediocre at best at the quarterback position since King obviously left the team. And the Cougs are just not a team I'm excited about backing. So if I'm playing, I can only be laying here with Memphis. And, we're talking about a Memphis team where margins matter. They are looking for to get the, the group of five bowl bid. And they've had time to, they had the crazy back-to-back games against Tulsa and SMU. They've had 2 weeks to chill from that. And, they're fast and they're good. And I think they're going to give Houston a lot of problems. But, again, it's not like you're getting bargains to back Memphis right now. Over makes a little bit of sense. Tigers been cashing a whole lot of over tickets. Like last under ticket they cashed, I think the second week of September.
Wow, that's an interesting stat there. And, yeah, I'm with you, man. If I'm playing in this, I'm laying. Houston only catching 10. I would think this number would be a little higher. To give you a look at where I was looking on that one, Teddy, we got Kentucky at Vanderbilt up next. Wildcats 9.5 or 10 in Nashville. 41.5 the total here, Teddy. Vanderbilt, not a very good team. Worst team in the SEC, in my opinion. You interested in getting involved?
Yeah, just for what it's worth, my Memphis-Houston number was 10. So, that's just – and I'm not all that high on Houston necessarily. So this is a true pick-your-poison game. I used Vandy as a free play last week, and I'm embarrassed. That was I got a lot of stuff right last weekend. This was not one of them. And when they got punched, they didn't punch back. And when that starts to happen, those aren't teams I want to back anymore. So I'm not playing Vandy. All right. And, Mason's job is very much in jeopardy. We're talking about a team with 1 win, right? No, 2 wins for the season. They're not going anywhere. I don't trust Vandy to show. Your alternative to taking with Vandy is laying with Kentucky. And, boy, if you watch Kentucky last week against Tennessee, they get the ball around the goal line. Hey, let's not punch it in. In fact, let's not score at all. And they get the ball around the goal line again. Let's not we don't want to score this time either. And now the rumors are, like Florida State wants Stoops. Like he's done so well there that he's a coach that's going to move up in the ranks. Kentucky's not a team I'm comfortable with. Vandy's not a team I'm comfortable with. Under, if I'm playing this game. I don't see a whole lot of either one of these teams. These are two bad offenses, flat out. Where do the points come from in this one?
And the market agreeing with you from 45 down to as low as 41.5. So heavy under move here. Teddy, next game up, a game I know you know a lot about. The original little brother versus big brother, talking Michigan State at Michigan. This one in the big house. Looks like Michigan now bet up to minus 14 at some shops. 45 the total here, Teddy.
This isn't a little brother, big brother. This isn't Michigan against Eastern Michigan or Central or Western. Michigan and Michigan State, in theory, are supposed to be equal. And the program and the series history it doesn't show much separation between these two programs in this century. Even last century, they're supposed to be equal. Of course, when you look at Sparty on this 4-game losing streak, obviously, right now the markets are finding it difficult to attract Michigan State money from anyone else but wise guys. Okay, what happened last week? You can't overlook that. Then again, they lost that game by 3 points. But when you're up 28-3 and you can't close it out, and the coach is under fire, and the coach is getting blamed for a concussion protocol issue that may or may not have been followed, and now his job is in jeopardy, and there's a lot of things not to like about Michigan State this week. All right. And then you look at what happened last year. Lewerke had his worst game in college against the Wolverines last year. He was 5 for 25 in that game. All right. Michigan State didn't have 100 yards of offense against Michigan last year. I'm not convinced that changes this time around. All that said, you want to lay with the Wolverines, and they're rested and ready. They're coming off a bye. Recognize that Michigan hasn't beaten Michigan State by more than 2 touchdowns since 2002. So it's been a while. And for all the crap that the Spartans have gone through, this is their rival, and a win against Michigan makes some of it go away. I don't expect Michigan State to lay down. I'll just put it that way. But it's not a spot where I'm particularly excited about the underdog.
And Teddy, just to clarify, the little brother versus big brother, I say that kind of tongue in cheek. Do you remember the one player that kind of said that about?
Yeah. Okay. Oh, that was Hart, right?
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Now I know exactly. Yeah. Good reference. Excellent point.
Okay.
I didn't get it. You got it. Nice. Good dig. Good. Well done.
So any Spartan fans out there, I wasn't really taking a dig at you. I was more trying to make a joke here, but dum. We'll move on down the line here. 389, 390 heading to the SEC. One I'm interested in, Teddy. I think this number's short, man. I like the Gators here. -7. You can even find 6.5s on the road at Missouri. Missouri, all kinds of question marks. Keep in mind they are on quote unquote still on probation, not necessarily for sure in a bowl game, and quarterback issues as well. 51 being the total. You like the Gators as well? 6.5, 7 on the road?
Yeah, that's the only way I'm going to look at that game. I'll talk about it in a second. I realized I missed one key thing from the Sparty game that was worth noting. Darrell Allen, their best receiver, he's out. So whatever limited weapons they have are now even more limited. And Lewerke's 5 of 25 from last year. It's, now his best receiver is not going to play. When it comes to this one, Missouri's had a really rough go of it since Bryant got hurt. The last 3 games have been pretty ugly. 3 straight losses, 4 straight non-spread covers, offense struggling in every way, and that's Vanderbilt. Okay. That's Kentucky. Okay. We're not talking. Yeah. Missouri lost to Vandy. That's the team we're talking about. Now they're going to get Bryant back. They're going to get, what's the receiver? I can't think of the receiver's name back this week. It doesn't matter necessarily for an offense that stopped working. And Florida, you want to talk about, this is a meaningful revenge spot. Okay. Missouri went into the swamp last year and they smacked that team. They embarrassed them. It's the worst loss Florida had at home the last 5 years. If the Gators get the chance, I'm confident they will look to repay that favor. If I'm playing, I'm laying. Worth noting, Missouri's another team crazy trending to the under. They've had 1 over since opening day.
Wow. Good stat there, Teddy. Some of those kind of ride under the radar. And
way under the radar. There's another one. The next game we're going to talk about it. And this is another game where I have an opinion on the total much more than the side.
Let's talk about it. Hawaii here in Las Vegas playing UNLV. 74 being the total, with the Rainbow Warriors laying 7 at Sam Boyd Stadium.
Yeah, I remember talking about the Hawaii game last week and saying, hey, you can't lay points with Hawaii. 4-17 ATS. That's in the islands. That's at Aloha Stadium. They've actually been okay as road chalk. They covered it. What was it? Was it Central Arkansas they played? Somebody random that they played. But the bottom line is Hawaii does not have a defense I'm comfortable laying. And UNLV, for as crappy as they are, off the bye, I don't think anything's saving Sanchez's job. I'm pretty sure he's gone at the end of the year. But I wouldn't be surprised if they come with effort here. And when UNLV comes with effort, that usually means that the offense can do something. And Hawaii's not getting a whole lot of stops. And Hawaii, I mean, I remember watching them. I remember going to a Hawaii game at UNLV at Sam Boyd Stadium. And it was a lot of fun. Number one, there was a ton of Hawaii fans there. And number two, I had a bet on Hawaii. And number three, they ran roughshod over their receivers were much faster. They made one big play after the next against the Rebels. And that was an easy one. They're capable of doing that again, and I understand that was a few years back. But Hawaii's wide receiver speed is giving opposing teams in the Mountain West a lot of problems. I don't see UNLV shutting them down. And I wouldn't be surprised if UNLV makes some big plays. So we talked last week about Hawaii going over, and it took a late touchdown to get there, but it got there. That's 5 straight overs for Hawaii. Defense can't get stops. Offense scoring on everyone. That's the only way I would look in this one.
All right, good stuff there, Teddy. We head to Conference USA. Yeah, next game up, we got Rice at Middle Tennessee. MTSU laying 14 in the hook. Asher O'Hara Show and Company in Murfreesboro. 47.5 the total here, Teddy.
I've been in Murfreesboro.
So have I.
Yeah.
It's a little town.
Yeah. Rice is still winless, and they've used 4 quarterbacks in their last 2 games, and the 4 quarterbacks combined to produce 13 points. It's a very lost season. I used to call Eastern Michigan the hopeless program, and Eastern Michigan made a couple of bowls, Mm-hmm. Rice it's a hard turnaround, it is. It's the kids who qualify academically to get into that school and to recruit to that school. It's just not an easy sell. I'll just put it that way. Their defense has held up remarkably well considering how inept the offense is. And Middle Tennessee, I mean, if they don't win the turnover battle, they're not beating anyone by margin, but they are winning the turnover battle on occasion, and it's making a big difference. They had +4 against Marshall. They had +4 against Florida International. Won both those games going away. The North Texas game, they were positive turnover, and that kept them in that game, allowed them to cover there. But, I mean, am I excited about laying more than 2 touchdowns with the Blue Raiders in this spot? I'm not. Yeah, and it's not like Rice has any betting bandwagon or anyone's looking to bet on Rice. So, I mean, this is a pure wise guy game as far as I'm concerned, and the wise guys haven't given a strong opinion on this one either.
Teddy, next game up, 395, 396, possibly the class of Conference USA. Southern Miss at Texas, San Antonio, 52.5 being the total, with Southern Miss laying 17 on the highway.
Well, the Louisiana Tech game says they're not allowed to be the class of the conference because, La Tech smacked them around pretty good. And rallied from 14. I mean, whatever. That was a crazy game, but 45-30 was the final. But it was just La Tech ran them out a little bit in that contest, though some of that was certainly turnovers. All that said, I mean, UTSA is a miserable team. All right, I've got them in the bottom tier in my power ratings, right? Mm-hmm. And like my number here is 19. So it's and yet they got 4 wins. They're thinking, hey, we pull a couple upsets tonight. We can go bowling, Now, I don't think it's going to happen, and the 4 wins that they have, they got UTEP, Incarnate Word, they beat Rice. But last time, Old Dominion. And, so the point is they stink, but they don't necessarily know how bad they are. And they're thinking, you understand where the team has a little bit of hope?
Yeah.
I think UTSA has hope. I think Southern Miss can kill them and might well kill them. But UTSA has been covering these numbers. They've covered 4 of their last 5. And maybe they hang around in this one enough. I mean, the game against UAB last week, UAB didn't have the quarterback. The game against Rice the week before was one of the games where they were switching quarterbacks in and out. UTSA doesn't have a quarterback either, so maybe it's the same story. But the Golden Eagles' recent defensive improvement isn't necessarily a defensive improvement. They're just playing teams that couldn't move the football.
Okay, good point, looking at it that way. Next game up here, Teddy, we're heading to the SEC. We got Big Ten, then SEC again. We got Alabama at Mississippi State up first. This one in Starkville. 17 in the hook. That's what the Crimson Tide are laying on the road. 60.5 the total here, Teddy.
Well, I know this. I don't want Mississippi State. All right. Mississippi State's been a dog 3 times this year. They were against A&M, they were against Auburn, and they were against LSU, and they weren't in any of those games, and they turned the ball over in all those games. They didn't force turnovers in all those games. They didn't cover any of the spreads in any of those games. So, it's not a good Mississippi State team. And now margins matter to Alabama. They're outside the top 4. They have a November loss. Margins matter for this team. So I know I don't want the dog. I went back and tried to look what happens with Saban and his teams off a regular season loss. There's like no history on it, dude. They don't lose. It's insane. I went back 10 years and there's like no sample size for me to say, okay, this is what Alabama does off a loss in the regular season. Don't know.
It's been since 2007, right?
They lost at home?
No, they lost 2 games in the back-to-back in the regular season.
Oh, and they lost back. Yeah, I was talking about one regular season loss. There's not a huge sample size. When they lose, they're losing in the SEC title game or the last game of the year against Auburn, or they're not losing a mid-season game.
Oh, good point.
So little that there's not. I'm trying to see. Did they come back? Because my gut reaction was just Alabama's going to smack somebody. And then I'm trying to is the gut reaction backed by anything? And I don't want database there, because database isn't going to tell me exactly what I want to do when the game was in the season and that sort of, you can filter it out, but it was more trouble. So I went back and did the manual look, and there's not the point is there's no sample size for Alabama off a loss. Tua is not healthy. They're worried about Tua this week. Everyone's like, Burrow won the Heisman. He was so much. Tua was unbelievable in the LSU game, dude.
Yeah,
he was every bit as good as Burrow. Okay, but Burrow's team won, so he got all the credit. Bama can name the score here. If I'm playing, I'm laying.
You think Tua actually plays?
I don't know. And the markets are saying he's not going to play. That's why the money's come on Mississippi State. So be aware. This is a Thursday opinion and not anything I put my money on. But if Tua plays, if I think he's going to play at 17, shit, even if he doesn't play, Alabama might look. It might be a better bet if he doesn't play.
Yeah, I'm thinking Bama's the side here too, because even if he doesn't play, they're still going to throw the ball down the field. They've proved that. Wisconsin.
They got a pretty good receiving core, don't they?
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's just take a 5-step drop and throw a pretty football down the field. You got a shot at scoring some points there. Wisconsin at Nebraska up next, Teddy, in Lincoln. 51 the total. We got the Badgers laying 14 or 14 in the hook, depending where you're shopping.
Yeah, nobody wants Nebraska. And I don't want Nebraska. But the markets have really, again, we're talking about a team that has 1 point spread cover all year against Northern Illinois. Nebraska's been an absolute money burner, and there was a lot of people that were very high in Nebraska coming into the year, and they took wise guy money early in the year, and now nobody's betting this team. All right, so if you're looking for value, there's value on the Huskers. When they played good teams, they've gotten stomped, Minnesota and Ohio State, and that's, the 2 good teams they faced. And they got stomped in those games. But on the Wisconsin side, again, no bargains here. It's already been bet up. And that 5-1 red-hot ATS start where the Badgers are kicking everyone's ass in Madison, that's come and gone now. They've failed to cover their last 3. The offense is when Taylor isn't running wild, Cone isn't making plays downfield, and the Badgers aren't a team that I want to lay this price with on the road. So easy pass for me.
Teddy, next game up, we got LSU at Mississippi. LSU laying 21 in the hook in Oxford, 65.5 the total here, Teddy. You think I'm crazy with looking towards the Ole Miss side here, plus 21.5? I think they got a puncher's chance to surprise the world.
I don't know. So I cashed a ticket with Ole Miss against Auburn. They were a wrong side, and they covered wire to wire. They got a touchdown before halftime that kind of saved me a little bit, and then Auburn just kept on getting in the red zone and not scoring for whatever reason and kicking field goals. I mean, if Ole Miss is going to cover, that's the way it's got to be. This isn't an offense that's going to move the ball against LSU's defense. It's just not, not up and down the field. That being said, the Rebels have been a great point spread team, dude. I mean, they've covered 5 of their last 6. And they're just not getting blown out. You know, they're hanging around. The defense is good enough to get a couple of stops. The offense is good enough to get a couple of first downs. It's never pretty. But this is something that you can probably go back 20 years and not hear me saying since he left West Virginia. I give Rich Rod credit for what he's done with this team. The Rebels are better than I thought they were going to be. And I know I'm not laying with LSU this week.
And I mean, in terms of coordinators, you got Rich Rod and McIntyre, defensive and offensive coordinator. I think you could put those 2 coordinators up against anybody in the country. And a lot of people don't realize, like, this LSU Ole Miss rival, it's a big rivalry. These 2 teams don't like each other. And Oxford, you know, a great college town, can be a tough place to play at Vaught Hemingway. LSU obviously off their biggest win in at least a half a decade. I don't know, Teddy. I think Ole Miss has a shot here.
Yeah, I'm saying, you're going to put some money line? What's the number on the money line?
I haven't bet it as of yet, but talking with you, I'm starting to think about it, talking myself into it.
Money line, you can get, it's only plus 1,000, plus 1,100, you know, 10 to 1, 11 to 1. That's not, it's live dog.
It would be more. Isn't 10 to 1 is pretty much 14, right?
Yeah.
And it changes around.
That might be telling you something, though.
Yeah. It's, interesting, Teddy. We got Stanford at Washington State in the Pac-12 up next. Cougars laying 11 and Pullman, 63.5 the total here, Teddy.
No, 14. You know, 14 is not minus 1,000. That's incorrect. Yeah, it's shorter than that. It's more in the 600, 700 range. So this is another. Hey, this is a fun game. Pick your poison here. All right. Washington State's in last place in the Pac-12 North. The coach hates the team. The team hates the coach. You know, the quarterback leads the country in passing yards. You know, and they've owned Stanford lately. They've owned them. They've won each of the last 3 years. They've given Stanford all kinds of problems. Am I looking to lay a price with Washington State right now? You know, no. But then again, the last time they faced a bad team at home, they blew out Colorado, and that's their only win during this, 1-5 skid. Was a bad team at home, and that's what Stanford is. Okay, Stanford just lost to that bad team, Colorado, in Colorado, with their starting quarterback back. You know, Costello lit up this defense last year, but the Cardinal this has been a dead season for Stanford, and I guess this is a game they got to win if they're going to be bowl eligible. Not with my money.
Fair enough, Teddy. And that does it for all the games on the Every Game on the Board podcast. Couple questions here for Teddy before we end it. And guys, the coupon code TC69 gives you Teddy Covers 7-day all access for just $69, less than $10 a day. You'll get every play in every sport, NBA, college football, NFL, plus some for just $69. Teddy's been hot. Of course, the records I like the most, 57% in the NFL for the last 5 years. That's 196 and 147, 57% in the NFL since 2015. All sports run of 88% the last 5 days as we're talking right now on Thursday. He's also up over 70% in the NFL, 75% over that in NCAA football. Those are in the month of November. So red hot here in the month of November. He's got free plays up at sportsmemo.com. Check out the website and remember the coupon code TC69 at checkout for a 7-day all access package. Teddy, we asked some answering questions last week. Big applause. People liking it. So we'll try it again here. Just a couple questions. Was late on the trigger on Twitter and throwing them out. But I have a question for you. We're talking about the Nebraska season and a lot of people liking them in the preseason. It brings me back to the preseason. I liked Nebraska under the total, mainly because I just think Scott Frost was getting a little bit too much pub from what he did there at UCF, when really it was an artificial floor when he took over 0-12 to 6-6 in that second year. Plus the fact I knew that they weren't deep looking at their roster and their recruiting. I like Nebraska under there in the Big Ten, but listening to the main talking heads say, oh, Nebraska over, it actually kept me off of it. I didn't bet it either way, but looking back, I'm kicking kicking myself now. How do you deal with that, being the success that you've had in season win totals, both NFL and likely college football? How do you deal with what other people's opinions are and keeping those out of your head?
I can't stress this strongly enough. When I'm doing my work over the summer, and that's my favorite time of the year because I got the time, I know that when I put the time in, I'm going to end up with the results. I'm going to have bet on teams and bet against teams. I'm going to know what teams I can look at in September and what teams are going to be better in November. I can say this without a shadow of a doubt, and pardon my language because I'm going to go, but tell everybody to shut the fuck up and just you know what I mean? What's in your head and the work you've done, I can guarantee you it's more work than any talking head has done on TV. All right, a 4-letter network, a 3-letter network. Their job is to create content every day. And if you think they're sitting there studying the Nebraska roster the way that you studied it, you're wrong. They don't. It's their job to smile and look good on television. Their job is not to come up with good analysis. Even the stuff you read, the mainstream stuff is absolute garbage. It can only hurt you. NFL, college football, throw it all away. Rely on your research, your information. Turn off SportsCenter. I don't know how else to say it other than that. It is not good info, and there's lots of times that people that don't have an opinion on something are going on TV and pretending to have an opinion on something they know nothing about. Happens all summer long.
Well said, Teddy. Good advice there. We also have another question from Twitter saying, in-game betting. Any advice there? Are you a big in-game bettor? And if so, what's your advice to somebody new in the sports betting world?
So I bet a lot of basketball in-game. I bet some football. But my favorite sport for betting in-game is undoubtedly the NBA. And it's good because it forces me to watch the NBA, and it helps my NBA a lot as a result. And it's also profitable. My strategy is as simple as it gets. Okay, this is my strategy for betting the NBA. The one team goes on a 12-0 run, and then the opposing coach calls timeout, and that's when I bet on the team whose coach just called timeout. And then they come out and go on a 12-0 run, and the other coach calls timeout, and then I'm going to bet on that team. I want both teams at plus prices. When I get both teams at plus price, I'm done.
Makes sense.
That's all I'm looking for. Okay.
Right.
And on a night in, night out basis, you can find that. You have to be disciplined. I'm not making 30 bets a night, but I'm waiting for one team to go on a run, and then I'm betting the other team, and vice versa. And when I get that in the same game, and you often do, it's brilliant. Now, sometimes you end up with a bad ticket. That happens. I shouldn't say sometimes. On the regular, some team will go on a 12-0 run, and the other team won't go on the 12-0 run back, and you're just stuck with whatever you got in your pocket, and that's the way it is. But the nights where you cash both and the nights where you don't lose any, more than make up for it. So that's my strategy. If you're looking for a beginning strategy, that would be what I would look for. NBA or hoops, and bet the runs.
Good stuff, Teddy. Guys, remember the coupon code TC69 at checkout. $69 for a 7-day all-access package. Teddy, you want to throw anything else out before we shut this down?
I want to throw out the garbage. Guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We really appreciate it. I know everyone's got busy lives, especially November's insane. So we really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to hang out with Drew and I. It's a lot of fun to do, and hopefully you gain something out of it. And we'll see you over at sportsmemo.com this weekend. Good luck.
Good luck. Well said, Teddy, and best of luck to you, man. Thanks for the time. Guys, we will be back with NFL Every Game on the Board podcast.